A young man is looking at a bulletin board, happy to proclaim that he is free and immortal. The woman behind him sees him so happy that she asks if something good happened to him. At a different time, the same young man is pulling a cart full of heavy baggage while a young lady watches on. Later, once they reach a cabin, the young girl complains to the young man that they arrived late because he was so slow. Even in the cabin, the boy does all the unloading while the girl relaxes on the couch and just complains. The young man wonders if Elma became so self-absorbed because of him. She introduces the young woman as Elma the saint while introducing himself as Isuzu the substitute. He explains that people in this world receive the blessing of the goddess of an important skill that determines their destiny the moment they are born. He complains that his skill of receiving the damages placed on others is a completely useless skill. While he is still unloading the luggage, Elma goes to her bed. Isu continues to explain that his skill was sufficient to protect Elma as the saint test. Ever since they were little kids, no matter how harsh the training or how many times Elma got into trouble, it was Izu who got hurt instead of her. No matter how much she gets hurt or injured, is who suffers the consequences. There were times when Isuzu would defeat a monster, and she would proclaim victory. But without caring at all that I got hurt in the process, he is frustrated that, until the present, she still treats him badly. Elma tells him that she defeated a monster today without his help as her substitute. She boasts how she has no mark on her compared to him who is injured all over without any consideration that he is wounded because he took all the damage for her. It makes think about why he is still trying to protect her. Elma orders him to get her water and he pours it into her glass. All the while, Elma tells him that he likes her so much that he left the village with her. It makes Izu regret that he ever went with her. He remembers when they were still kids. Elma cheerfully went home to her parents and all the while Yi was behind her, struggling to stand from all the injuries he received. She excitedly hugged her parents and told them that she had decided to set out on a journey. Isu was shocked because he was not told about this. Elma told her parents that Isuzu would come with her, much to his internal scream. The parents asked if I even consented to this. This leads Isu to protest, telling her that he could not leave his mother now to take care of his siblings on their own. Elma told him that he could not leave her alone since she is the saint test. The parents could not do anything as the girl threw a tantrum while telling Isuzu he should know his place. It left the young boy crying knowing he couldn't escape this. Later on, Elma turned on the crocodile tears while pleading with Izuzu's mother that her son needs to come with her. The mother did not see right through her, frustrating Izu, who saw through her act. The mother reprimanded her for not doing her duty for the saint test. He was about to say something only for Elma to cover his mouth. He was helpless while the girl kept telling the mother that she needed. Izuzu's mother told him that he needed to do this because he had a duty to protect the saint test, the way his father protected the village for them. Isu absorbed her words, teaching him that he needed to be stronger to be capable of protecting people. Back in the present, Izu reminds himself that he did not set out on the journey for the same test, but to be stronger. Elma remembers the story of how they ended up on the journey together, differently, and told Elma that she remembered him crying and begging to come with her. Izuzu tells her that the only reason he set out on the journey was to be stronger. Elma is glad to know that he understands that he is useless without her. She says it is only natural since she is the saint and he is only the substitute. She continues her abuse by telling him he needs to sleep outside the cabin since he can't sleep near her. She throws his bag of luggage at him, causing the objects inside to explode on his head. Isuzu calmly goes to his knees to pick up his stuff while telling her that they need to part ways because he has reached his limit putting up with her. She gets angry that he is daring to stand up to her considering his place as a substitute. But he stands up to her and tells her that he is not her substitute any longer. Elma keeps screaming at him that he will not get away with this, but Isuzu does not care and continues to walk away. As he opens the door, he tells her that he hopes she finds someone suitable for her. Isu closes the door behind him. Suddenly, the day seems so much brighter and more beautiful to him. She shouts loudly to the sky that he is finally free. His pendant suddenly lights up and shows him the message that his skill has changed to that of immortality. He feels happy at the thought of his immortality. Fast forward to the beginning of the story as a woman asks him if something good happened to him. The woman is so beautiful that Isuzu can barely look at her. He then realizes that he can't tell her that he just broke up with the saint test because it would make him look bad. He maintains vague answers, only saying that something good happened to him. The woman introduces herself as Lisa, the guild receptionist, and asks if he is in the guild for a quest. He says that a quest would be nice and asks for her recommendation. Lisa asks what his skill is to properly assess him. He shows his pendant to confirm that he just recently became an immortal. She gets so amazed that she holds his hand and asks that he take a difficult quest only an immortal like him can attempt. The moment he says yes, a blackboard appears beside Lisa. catching Isuzu off guard. She writes down on the board that the difficulty of the quest is 20 and that the goal is to get lizard materials. Despite the difficulty of it, Isuzu agrees to do it with a smile. Later on, Isuzu is walking in the forest, not realizing that there is a creature following him. He thinks he is getting closer to his target, not realizing that a dragon already has its mouth wide open to eat him. The next thing Isuzu knows, he is being swallowed by a dragon. It successfully swallows him, and he ends up unconscious, falling to its gigantic stomach that is filled with remains of the dead. He wakes up from the strong, horrible smell. He panics, seeing that there is no way out. He is in such a panic that he does not realize that his sword has fallen from him and stabs the dragon's stomach wall. The inside of the dragon suddenly trembles as if there is an earthquake. The next thing he knows, he gets spat out. He gets up, relieved that he is alive.
He then gets surprised that there are adventurers pointing weapons at him, but they are just as flabbergasted as he is. Izzy raises his hand to surrender.
Lisa then approaches him and asks if he is okay. Seeing her beauty gives the young man a moment of relief. He tries to reach out for her, but she and the others do not want to get near him because of his smell. Isu asks her if killing the dragon in his unconventional way counts as successfully clearing the quest. She tells him that she counts it, making him feel victorious. Later on, Isuzu is taking a shower in Lisa's bathroom and still can't believe it. He remembers how beautiful Lisa looked when she invited him to take a shower and stay the night at her place. Lisa shouts from the other room that there is a towel and a change of clothes ready for him. The self-conscious Ayu grabs the towel and the clothes. He comes out of the bathroom wearing the clothes ready for him. As he thanks Lisa, he becomes conscious of seeing her clean his underwear for him. He apologizes, but the woman is more concerned about seeing how her father's clothes fit him. She then volunteers to clean up his wounds. Hearing her so concerned about his wound makes him remember how Elma made him feel bad every time he got injured and makes him glad that other people are not like the same. Tess. Lisa is lifting up his clothes to take a look at his wounds when he becomes conscious of her touch. She is surprised that all of his wounds are gone. He looks closely at his face for more wounds, making the young man blush. Now that she mentioned it, he realized that it did not sting when he took a shower. Lisa thinks he is incredible for his immortality. Later, she sets up a feast and tells Isuzu it is for the immortal hero of their town. She informs him that it was the townsfolk who brought in all the food for him. Isuzu asks with humility if they are really sure he can have all this nice food. So Lisa reminds him that he is a hero. She explains that the town has been suffering the wrath of dragons and lizards for many years now. She remembers how the dragon commanded the lizard people to take food from the town. She mourns all the lives lost because of them. She looks so sad that Isuzu asks if his father fell victim to these monsters. Lisa corrects him by saying that her parents are just traveling right now. She, however, feels sad that people needed to leave the town due to a lack of food. She says that there is not a soul in town who is not thankful to him for eradicating their source of evil. She invites him to stay to reassure the people that everything in town is good again. She also adds that it would make her happy if he stayed. Instantly, Izu swears that he will stay for her. Lisa is glad knowing that with him in town, everyone will feel secure. She predicts that it will be hard for him since the people will go into a frenzy just seeing him walk by. The next day, the people in the streets keep offering food and admiration towards Isuzu, whom they now call the Dragon Slayer. Because of the successful quest, Isuzu gained new equipment and a high-grade dagger. The next day, people still keep surrounding him as he walks the street. The day after, more and more people surround him so that he can't breathe or move. He gains the habit of hiding every time he sees women admirers close by. He also worries that if he stands up too much, it will only be a matter of time until Elma finds him. Aside from that, he feels guilty that people praise him just because he got lucky with the dragon. He remembers that he swore to become stronger. He stands outside the guild, hesitant to say goodbye to Lisa. He gets startled as Lisa opens the door to find him outside. Still, he sees that this is his chance to talk to her. He tells her that he is leaving the town. He becomes sad as Lisa casually says that he should take care as if it were nothing. She tells him that she does not wish to stop him but asks why he is leaving. He shares with her his promise to his mother when he set off on a journey that he will become strong enough to protect people. Lisa thinks his goal is wonderful, and so she says she will be cheering for him. She pulls out a map of the volcano island of Margaret near their town and tells him of the rumor that he will be bestowed tremendous powers there if he gains favor from the god there. She informs him that many have tried to gain this power, but none have succeeded. She shares her belief that he will be the one to finally gain this power. Later, Isuzu rides a ship towards the island of Margar and the townspeople send him off as it leaves the port. In the distance, Isuzu can see the volcano island. He can also see the temple beside the volcano. Isuzu arrives at the port of the Maujid volcano island. There he meets the old mayor, Cliff, who tells him that they have been waiting for him, and that he has heard of him from Lisa and knows that he wishes to visit the shrine. The old man warns that the volcanic shrine is treacherous sacred ground where adventurers travel to get the skill of fire, resistance only for a few to return. He asks if he has the courage to visit such a place, and Isuzu answers that he does. For his answer, the mayor gives him the map to the shrine. Finally, Isuzu has arrived at the cave entrance, and with its pointy stalagmites and hints of glowing magma inside, it is like he is about to enter the jaws of a giant dragon. Ka, the shrine maiden, says that she has been waiting for him and volunteers to be his guide through the shrine. They walk a narrow bridge path over a pool of magma. Ka shows that at the end of the bridge is the entrance to the shrine. As they walk, Isuzu steps on a weak stone, making him fall towards the magma. Ka screams for him. The young man panics as he continues to fall. He believes that this is his end. He hits the lava only to be surprised that it does not feel hot and is more comforting. He hears a voice telling him that they have been waiting for him for a long time. They tell him that in honor of his bravery and swordsmanship, they shall bestow on him a fraction of their power. Somehow, Yu is familiar with how he is feeling and knows that he now has the ability to fly. He opens his eyes feeling powerful. A phoenix rises from the sea of magma. In front of Kaya flies the majestic bird. Isu has transformed into the great emissary of fire who can instantly heal any injury, including death, and nullify any fire-based attacks. The phoenix turns back into Izu and he tells Kaya that he is sorry for worrying her. He assures her that he is fine. Ka gets flustered, asking him to put some clothes on. The moment it hits Izu that his clothes have burned off, he tries to cover up. Ka's eyes are glued to his body despite making the pretense that she is covering up her eyes. Later, he meets up with Mayor Cliff, who is glad to hear that he has met the fire god. Ka tells him of Hanoka, the fire deity who dwells in the volcano temple, which takes on the grand visage of a bird. She informs him of the 5 elemental gods who bestow humans with skills besides the goddess, and how Inoka, the fire god of Malgri, is one of them. Isu wants to confirm that he was indeed blessed by the fire god, but asks that they go outside so he will not burn the house. Once outside, Isuzu activates his ability, enveloping his entire body in flame. In a second, he becomes the phoenix in front of Cliff and Ka. The two marvels are that he looks exactly like the fire god from the legends. Cliff asks to touch him, so the young man says he can. Both he and Kaya touch his wing gently and can't believe they are touching something so divine. They thank him for giving them the opportunity to do so. Izzy returns to his human form and realizes that the flame did not burn the towel he is wearing. Cliff says he is humbled to see Hanoka, but Isuzu says he is simply the messenger. Hearing him say he is its messenger convinces Cliff and Kaya that they must give him something. Later, Cliff, Ka, and Isuzu head to the entrance of the temple where they climb down the long staircase. At the end is a pond. The center of the pond is a levitating barrier of water holding a red suit inside. Cliff informs Isuzu that it is the phoenix robes, and it is the outfit said to be worn by the messenger of Hanoka. Isu marvels at its beauty. He asks if they want him to have it. Cliff tells him he can have it as long as he can break its seal. Isu figures out that they want him to prove his worth as Hanoka's messenger. He slowly approaches the barrier with trepidation. Slowly, he touches it with his finger. It pops like a bubble, freeing the robes. Cliff and Ka are shocked to see that it was that easy. Later, Isuzu wears the red getup for the first time. Cliff and Ka are glad to see that it fits him well. Later, the two fathers make toasts in celebration of Isuzu, for they think he is Hanoka instead of their messenger. Izu tries to correct them by saying that he is only the messenger, but Kaya tells him he should excuse them for thinking that he is the fire god in the flesh because to them, including her, he is like a deity. That night, Ka knocks on Izuzu's bedroom door. Izu opens the door and asks her what brings her to him. The girl tells him with a smile and a bow that she came to serve him for the night and bear his children. Hearing this shocks the young man. Ka has entered Izu's room and is now offering herself to him. The young teen wonders why this is happening and suggests they both sit down first. Ka takes this to mean that he finds her undesirable. Izu waves his hands at her to show that this is not the case as he continues to gather his bearings. Ka explains that she is a shrine maiden. Now that Hanoka's existence has been revealed, she has the responsibility to pass this down to future generations. Having a shrine maiden who inherits the messenger's bloodline is essential. She bows in front of him and begs him to let her have his child. Izu thinks for a moment and then has an idea. He asks her if she is really okay with this. Ka smiles at him, saying it's no problem. This is her destiny as a shrine maiden. Izu replies that he thinks it is wrong since sleeping together should be done by people who truly love each other. He adds that even if they had a child, he or she would then bear the pressure for their whole life. Thus, it would be better if everyone chose the maidens as the stars of the festivals and delivered offerings to Hanoka. He concludes by saying that this is what would make him really happy. Ka thinks about his words and is convinced. She apologizes for being presumptuous. Izu then tells her to keep herself pure for someone she loves from the heart. Ka then leaves the room and Isuzu buries his face in the pillow. He regrets not taking advantage of an innocent little girl. The next morning, a huge crowd is in the street with citizens eager to get a glimpse of Isuzu. He realizes that he stands out and worries that Elma will find him. That evening, Cliff and Kaya came to bid him farewell. She tells him that she will be waiting for Hizit forever. Isu holds her hands and assures her that he will return. He thanks them for everything and then transforms into his phoenix form. His destination is the martial arts city of Laninia. He heard there is an arena there where adventurers compete with each other to test their skills. Many warriors from around the world gather here. In addition, he will be able to shop for some desirable weapons. This plan is dashed though, as when he arrives every shop is closed. Kaizu can't believe it and sits down on a park bench looking disappointed. He spots two muscular guys heading to a store and is shocked to see them enter. He moves to the door for a peek inside. He sees that they are actually robbing the shop while Ria, the owner, and her daughter Theo cower behind the desk. The older-looking thief even threatens to do vile things to Ria at night. Isu enters the shop and stops them from doing any more harm. The thieves are irate and scream at him for interfering. They opt not to fight though and leave after threatening to crush the shop. Ria smiles and thanks Isu for saving them. He asks what is going on. She replies that those guys wanted to crush her shop and kept threatening them to participate in the martial god festival. Isu has no idea what that is, which comes as a surprise to Ria. She explains that it is a competition held every 2 years, among weapon shops to see who is the best craftsman. Isu wonders why she doesn't join, and she says her husband was the best blacksmith in town. They won the festival many times. This made some people resentful. A week after the Lost Martial God Festival, her husband was murdered. Isu is stunned to hear this. The authorities said it was a sudden death, but she believes he was killed by the same people who are now harassing her shop. Now they want her to participate, believing that she will lose, and they can then embarrass her shop even more. Ria, though, is determined not to join as she thinks her skills are not equal to those of her husband. If she loses, then her shop will no longer be seen as number one, tarnishing her husband's legacy. Isu replies saying those guys will crush the shop whether she participates or not. He then says he will win using her weapons. Ria is speechless as vows to win the Martial God Festival. He thus asks her to forge the best weapon that she can. Ria thinks about it for a while and then gets a little upset, calling the idea foolish. The weapons she makes are limited, so it will be difficult to win using those. Isu says it doesn't matter and he will still win with what she gives him. Ria purses words for a second and then bursts into laughter. She agrees to what he said and says she will count on him. She also informs him that he will only have 3 days to practice after the weapon is finished. Isu was not expecting to hear that and let out a yell. Ria says the festival is in 10 days and it will take a week to make a weapon. If he can't master the weapon in that time, then there's no way he can win. Izzy realizes he may have bitten off more than he can chew. Sometime later, he is outside practicing swings with a borrowed axe. He is not super worried as he still has the Phoenix skill and virtually infinite stamina. He can also unleash fire attribute techniques, so he could probably manage to win with any random weapon. He continues to swing the axe around, polishing his skills. However, he thinks it will not be enough to win that way since Ria made a deal with him. He lowers the axe and chops a piece of wood in half. He then sits, takes a break, and wonders what weapon would best suit him. If it is a sword, he starts imagining what Elma's reaction would be. He asks himself why he is still thinking of her as he watches the sunset on the horizon. Suddenly, a stranger appears and asks if he is being troubled by the saints. Isu is surprised as we see that it is a mysterious person in black robes. Elma is loading sacks into a cart while still thinking about Izu. She is mad that he dared say such things to her. She stomps the ground in anger and swears to make him gravel. She then kicks the cart, wondering why Isuzu hasn't returned yet when he is supposed to be doing her bidding. A crack appears on the cart and it soon collapses in a heap. Elma falls to her knees feeling helpless, then screams in agony at what her life has become. A kind-looking round middle-aged man then asks if something is wrong or if she is injured. Elma gets up looking all proud and haughty. She then smiles widely and says she is fine. Deep down though, she is praying that he will notice what happened to her cart. See that she is in trouble and offered to help. The man named Vulo then checks the cart and says she can't load luggage like this. Elma is now acting all saintly and says she has no choice as she must continue her journey for the world. 10 minutes later, Voga returns with his own cart and offers it to her. She is pleased as everyone has no choice but to help a saintess. Still acting all girly, she says she is not sure if a frail saintess like her can pull such a heavy cart. Vo smiles and gladly says that he will take care of the heavy luggage and serve as her travel companion. Elma smiles, and a bit later all the luggage has been loaded onto the cart. She hands him some money, signifying that she has officially hired him, and then sits on the cart. She happily asks that they depart while Volko takes the reins and pulls the cart. It's a beautiful sunny day, but to her surprise, Vulo soon stops to rest. She wonders if he is worth the money he gave her. She then overhears some girls talking about the dragon slayer who appeared in Hooray. He defeated a dragon all by himself and is supposedly really good looking. They decide to go there hoping to see him. After hearing this, Elma declares that they should head to Hargate too. In her mind, she will get a hero more handsome and reliable than Izu. She points in the direction the girls went and orders Volko to go that way. However, it takes until evening to arrive. As her assistant keeps taking breaks, Elma is feeling frustrated, but still activates her Saint Aura to raise his morale in case monsters appear. She walks along the main street of town like a beauty contestant and assumes the Dragon Slayer will notice her. Two kids then run in front of her, blocking her way. Elma gets enraged and screams at them to get out of her way. They scamper away in fear. Elma then recognizes the guild and walks towards the door. She is standing in front of it when Lisa suddenly opens the door with force, smashing Elma's face. Volko, meanwhile, is happily playing with a dog. Lisa takes out a towel and apologizes to Elma, who now has a lump on her forehead. She is able to control her temper and smile at the receptionist. Lisa now recognizes the saint and apologizes even more for what she did. Elma says it's okay, but in her mind she wants to blow her away. Lisa then shares that she did the same thing to the Dragon Slayer. Elma is surprised to hear this and asks where the hero is right now. Lisa replies that the Slayer departed for Margaret. Elma then rushes out of the guild, slamming the door behind her. She quickly returns though to ask for directions while also hearing a sound. Lisa tells her that Margaret is a volcanic island south of Hooray. Elma asks again if the Dragon Slayer is there, and Lisa confirms this. She adds that he departed 5 days ago. Elma then excitedly asks when the next ship for the island is leaving, and Lisa replies in 10 minutes. Elma rushes out of the guild and bumps right into Vulo outside. She orders him to get her to port quickly. He is moving too slowly for her though, so she places him in the cart, and she is the one who pulls it as fast as she can. As she rushes to port, she realizes she did not mention Izuzu's name. Elma makes it in time, and they get on the boat. They arrive at the island, and she immediately starts asking the locals about the Dragon Slayer. Every single person she asks, though, has no idea who she is talking about. She falls to her knees wondering why nobody knows who he is. She then overhears some folk talking about how Hanoka will protect them from the rain. She asks if they are referring to the Dragon Slayer. They reply that Hanoka could probably beat the Dragon Slayer. They point to the shrine saying he resides there and protects the island. This raises Elma's spirits, who now decides to head there. One citizen even says she may receive his power. She shouts at Volko, who is starting to get stressed out by his new boss. She tells him their new destination and they head out with Elma, excited to get new powers. Back at Lanina, Isuzu is still busy preparing for the Martial God Festival. However, he now finds himself face to face with a mysterious hooded stranger. He waves his hands a bit and is able to see that Isuzu has the Phoenix skill. The young hero asks how he knows that. The cloaked figure replies that the immortal bird is bound by the human sin test. He adds that Isuzu should not forget those words before leaving him in the street. He wonders what the words mean and then thinks about the term Seven Sanctus. Suddenly, he gets very stressed as he realizes Elma is among the seven. If Isu is the immortal bird surrounded by the seven saints, then are they his allies or enemies? Each of the saints wields a sacred weapon commanding mastery over it. With that, he wonders what weapon he needs to match them equally. More importantly, what can he use to win the Martial God Festival? Just then, a bright voice asks if he's been training all this time. To his delight, Ria has come with snacks and tells him to take a break. Her timing is amazing as he was just getting hungry. The meal starts with a big chomp out of some bread. Curious as to how he's doing, she's told that he's getting pretty good with an axe. However, he looks at the short weapon and can't help but hesitate. He asks the blacksmith what she thinks is the weapon that fits him the most. It's a sudden and unexpected question, but regardless, she gives a reassuring smile and tells him to choose the one he likes the most. Isu stared at her as if failing to think about that option before. The answer then would be a sword, as he spent so much time watching Elma fight with hers. He thinks about what he actually knows about handling the blade. Beside his friend, who uses her sync test skill to master all sword techniques, he took damage meant for her. With this, he realizes what the girl earlier was talking about. His eyes beamed, saying he can master any weapon he's given, and asks the blacksmith for a favor. The day of the martial god festival has come. It's finally time for the adventurer wielding Ria's weapons to show just what they have to offer. The mother and daughter watched proudly as Izu stepped forward to do his best. He was holding the hilt of his newly made equipment covered in red to match his Phoenix god gear. On the other hand, his opponent was clad in thick armor and carrying a sword longer than his body. The man looked at the thing on his hand, which was considerably short and oddly shaped. It was made in Ria's renowned shop, but it looks like quite the unbalanced sword. That said, it wasn't just for show. Everyone is surprised by what happens next as the hilt and stubby blade suddenly erupted in a burst of flames. They call it the Demon Blade Sword, ready to devour everything it touches in a raging blaze. However, an attribute weapon isn't uncommon in their world, and the opponent's specialized defense is used to such things. Their weapons clashed and waves of fire swung forward, not one to be underestimated. The saint's former substitute splits his weapons apart. To the man's surprise, he was now up against a dual sword wielder. Despite their size, they were far from meek as the flames erupted like a volcano. Like his opponent, Elma often uses only long sword techniques. So, he who can instantly switch forms as he wants is stronger than the saints herself. With one swing of the demon's sword, the man covered in layers of tempered steel fell to the ground. The audience cheered and the entire arena roared, reacting to the victor of the match. Ria and Fiao watched from the stands, waving delightfully at him. While it was a splendid display, she's just glad that he's safe. He insists that it's all thanks to the sword which she forged so skillfully. On the other hand, she has to acknowledge how skilled he is to master the demon blade so fast. Just days ago, he asked for the impossible, a fire attribute weapon that can take many forms. The boy was certain he could handle it, as he had the pseudo-sword saint ability equivalent to Elma's. Through his conversation with her, new possibilities were opened up for him. The new skill lets him master the same techniques as the saint test he's been substituting for. What's more, her power isn't limited to long sword techniques and was quite versatile. With this, he bows his head low and asks that she grant his absurd request. The two acknowledge each other's skill, and he promises to win the tournament altogether. Ria believes he'll see it through, but the road might not be as smooth as he expects. Below them, a large man swung his flail against a female warrior. She was much smaller and used a spear, but one move from her shatters his equipment and sends him tumbling across the ground. The audience watched on in amazement. Standing proud and tall was Arcadia, the singest with the skill divine spear. The weapon in her hand was made by the Gamfrey Company, the same one that attacked Ria's shop. If the two warriors meet, she definitely won't show him any mercy. Surprisingly, the young man doesn't mind at all, having complete faith in the demon blade she made for him and its ability to help him take the championship. Although her brazenness stuns her at first, she manages to laugh, encouraged by his happy-go-lucky and confident attitude. With this, she tells him to do his best and aim for victory in the next matches. In the second round, Izu was up against a water attribute user who felt it is seeding flames. It didn't take much time for the third opponent to lose, and Arcadia was notably doing as well as he was. In the semifinals, she struggles against a man armed with gauntlets, leaving the outcome unpredictable. Her clothes were tattered and her muscles were bruised from the beating. Still watching, the young man finally noticed how beautiful she was. There was more to her than her face, and she proves this by striking her enemy deep in the gut. Seeing her stand as the victor, Izu wondered if all the saints were beautiful. The two locked eyes, and to his surprise, Arcadia glared right at him, not sparing any anger in her stinging stare. In the end, it seems he's destined to be targeted by saints. They were going to have a match tomorrow, and was going to decide the final victor. There must be quite a few people who envy him for making it so far, and he's sure of this as poison needles have been attacking him for a while now. Presented with another scrumptious meal, Izu is asked about his plan. As the Gamfrit men were planning to completely take them out, he argues that he's their main target since they want to eliminate him for challenging Arcadia's weapon. It won't matter to someone immortal, but he thinks they don't intend to kill him. Their conversation is interrupted as he senses something approaching from nearby. Without batting an eye, he catches a poison needle inches from his eyes. Theo runs to her mother completely afraid, and Izu has to watch the two civilians hug each other in fear. The young man realizes something important. If things continue this way, Ria and her daughter might be taken hostage, so he has to do something. As he was about to leave, a hand pulled him back. The little girl called to him, saying he has to come back, unlike her father who passed on. With a bright smile, he pats her head, promising to return and protect them both. They cheer him on and he leaves to settle things with his own hands. Setting off, he jumps from building to building, traveling lightly in the night. After a while of looking around, he sees a couple of hooded figures in an alley. Without wasting a second, he jumps in with his hand pulled back. One punch knocks the first man down, but there was another to worry about. Isuzu turns sharply and raises his hand along with a hot wall of flames. While the enemy was preoccupied with that, he ran up a wall and clung to a sill. The windows opened to reveal another hooded man who then took his dagger out to get rid of the intruder. One hit sends him back and allows the Phoenix messenger to enter the building. Screams rang out, but he couldn't see where they were coming from. Surprisingly, several of the men inside were already knocked out, but the terrified shrieks wouldn't stop ringing. He looked around urgently, forced to listen as the voice begged for mercy. Realizing it wasn't there, he jumped back out into the night. Among the roofs, he's surprised to see a familiar face. She says he came faster than she expected. Arcadia was there holding a hooded man up by the neck. Like earlier, they lock eyes. Asked what she was doing, the saint menacingly tossed the man over the roof. Approaching, she says there's no need to be so on guard, as she has no intention of fighting. He questions her intentions, confused as he thought the men were his companions. She scoffs at the thought, finding it ridiculous since she'd never ally with scum like them. The woman is registered for the match under the Gamfrey Company, but anyone would have been fine for her. All she needed was someone to make a weapon strong enough to handle her power. Next, he wonders what her purpose is and why she helped them. The questions make her smile, fully prepared with an answer. Obviously, she's doing all that to be able to fight him at full power. Standing together in the night, he still doesn't understand what good that does her. However, she doesn't need him to believe and can just move according to her own will. From this encounter, he realizes that she won't tolerate anything that interferes with her. But this only makes her like him as she appreciates understanding me. He worries about the company going after her next, after she eliminated their men. Isu's concerned for her Picus Arcadia's interest, and she takes a close look at his face, excitedly thinking about the full-blown match they're going to have soon. Taking her hand away, he acknowledges that he has to get serious or it might get dangerous. Under the light of the moon, the two stared each other down. With a deceitfully mellow but patronizing face, she says she doesn't understand. After all, whether or not he's serious, there's no way he can beat her. The statement surprisingly enraged the young man, who grits his teeth and suddenly feels all competitive. He then remembers his time with Elma, who insisted that no one could beat a saint. His daydreaming annoys the woman who feels like she's being ignored. In that moment, he wanted to break that pretty high nose of hers. Later on, Ria is woken up by some sounds outside. It's Izu who's just returning from the long and tiresome night. She's glad that he's come back safe and sound. The two ladies were by the tables, having tried their best to stay up and wait for him. He puts a blanket over Fio, who have fallen asleep on the chair. The two then catch up and talk about his encounter with Arca. Even he doesn't understand why the saint is excited to fight him. On the other hand, Ria thinks it's only natural as one doesn't come across a fighter like him often. She warns him about the spear wielder who nobody has ever seen experience defeat. In other words, she's a woman who will do and use whatever it takes if it means winning. Finally, the day of the decisive battle has come. The saint and the substitute faced each other, circling and waiting for the signal. Arcadia starts off by praising him for bravely standing on the stage. The gong rings to start the match, and the two immediately leap into action. The woman strikes first, raising her blade high, but it simply clashes against his fiery blade. As expected, the saint is strong. Preying on how naive he was, she drives her weapon harder and cuts through his fire. Isu is forced to tumble across the arena, but oddly chuckles as he gets back on his feet. Slightly infuriated, she questions what he finds so funny. Rather than humor, he was quite happy with the exchange. After all, who wouldn't be glad to find a powerful opponent? It seems he grows stronger every time he interacts with the saints. A weak voice called to the saints, panting and exhausted. Voga was still being dragged on by Elma, who passionately announced their arrival. Before them was the shrine on the volcano. She intended to force Hanoka into her party and cautiously peered into the small opening. The plump civilian fell to the ground, unable to stand the sheer heat emanating. Smiling but similarly fuming, she encouraged him to keep going. However, he's reached his limit and was just willing to wait for her there. Just then, a familiar voice called asking who they were. Kaya looked at them with a confused stare. Hearing their wish to meet the god, the maiden leads them through the burning path. Elma couldn't help but look around, worried about the surroundings. Not everyone can meet Hanoka, even if they desperately desire to do so. Again, putting her act on, the saint says there's no need to worry about her. Upon reaching a cliff, she's told that the one she's looking for is at the bottom and that she can jump over to meet him. If she really is a saint, as she claims to be, she should be able to see him with no problems. Elma couldn't believe the absurdity she was being told to do. She normally wouldn't be able to confirm this, but Kay fortunately had a personal encounter. Still in disbelief, the girl looked over the cliff and onto the pool of boiling magma. The bubble pops, and some gets on her nose, soon eliciting an ear-piercing scream of pain, which was loud enough to reach Vulo outside. Running around the sink, Test is told to calm down as they were in a sacred place. Although she was in pain, the instruction reminded her of the image she has to maintain. The goal was to meet Hanoka, so she has to do something about the situation. Excusing her loudness, the girl composed herself and walked forward, soon reaching the edge. She was about to jump when Kaya called to share that someone became the god's messenger recently. The shrine maiden smiled brightly, delivering the good news. Elma is shocked and in disbelief, but later in the town, she sighed in relief as she was barely saved from burning in a lake of magma. She asks about the so-called messenger and is told that he's a brave and wonderful man. Not caring about that, she pushes and asks for the mystery person's characteristics, not noticing the anger in the girl's smile. Ka goes on about how he transforms into a majestic bird of fire. Finally, she asks where that person is and is told that he headed to the martial arts city to further improve their skills. On the next boat to her destination, Elma gave up on the dragon slayer, but was now aiming for the messenger, not knowing it's the same person. She then looks at Volko, who she now regards as a pig that's dead weight. At times like these, she remembers and recalls how considerate he was despite being useless. Memories of how she treated him like a slave flash through her mind. Tears well in her eyes, and she screams in frustration, longingly calling to him. Seeing Volko's pathetic self once again, she decides to leave him at the next stopover point. Before parting, she heads to a stall to buy him one final meal. As he was about to take a bite, she called with something important to say. He urgently looked back and forth at the princess and his sandwich. With her annoyance reaching its limits, she then reveals that she's thinking of parting ways with him, even adding some tears into the mix. Elma shares her intention to recruit the messenger and tries to fire the dull man from his duties. However, he doesn't quite get what she means. Instead, beaming with respect for her. Moved by her noble heart and compassion, he suddenly took her arms in his and announced that he's going to accompany her to the ends of the world. She learns his name for the first time and soon enough was clinging to the mast as a terrible storm shakes their ship. Volko clung to the deck, barely keeping himself together despite refusing to be fired. Turning pathetically, he asks her to do something and stop the storm as the saints. The other passengers started doing the same, while one even suggested sacrificing her to the god. Lightning crackled and people fell silent. Unlike what they believe, a Senxes isn't capable of doing everything. For now, she decides to head back to her room and wait for the storm to pass. Calling to Volko, she puts on a kind act and suggests that he do the same. After a while of walking, she reached her room at the end of the corridor and quickly plopped down on the bed in exhaustion. The sea was rough, but she was finally alone and was allowed to relax. Just then, a loud creak echoed throughout the room. Elma urgently looked back to see who it was and was surprised to see Vulo standing by her door and obviously still seasick. Like her, the man popped down on the bed beside hers. Her prim saint facade was collapsing and she indignantly questioned why he was there since the ship was fully booked that day. The two of them had to share a room and he didn't even ask for her permission. This completely wrecks her patience and she started grumbling at him in anger. It's the first time she's felt so terrible, feeling like nobody has been respecting her recently. Meanwhile, Izu was standing against Arcadia, who was sure he couldn't beat someone like her. He cursed all the saints. The two on the ship later move on, and Elma asks Voga what he can do. Unable to give a proper answer, he starts mumbling like an idiot and suddenly falls asleep from sheer exhaustion. It's so bad that he falls to the sofa, but doesn't bat an eye as he starts passing out on the floor again. She compares him to Izu, who was a much better slave than this person. During their time together, he was a useful substitute and was eager enough to learn as much as possible from her. She has no idea, but because of watching her train so much, the young man was now much stronger than her. Putting a blanket over Vola's body, she gives it a heavy slap and tells him to learn something useful if she wants to keep on staying with her. Later and back on the ground, she studies a map intently. Their destination seems to still be quite far away, but she suddenly hears a bunch of people talking about a flame user's attack. Elma called, curious and eager to hear more of what they were saying. Later on, she's sitting on the bench and thinks about the description of the dual-blade fire user. There was no doubt that Hino's description was still lingering in the town of Lenina. During the martial god festival, the arena erupted in cheers as Izu and Arcadia faced off in the tournament finals. Thanks to the Saint test, the substitute had found another way to grow even stronger. She couldn't believe her eyes, seeing that he actually was improving during the fight. His weapon had adapted and transformed into a spear, a new skill obtained after her attack. With the pseudo-divine spear, he charged at her with a loud warrior. Sparks and embers fly as their blades clash intensely. The spear sink couldn't believe that she was actually falling behind in her specialization. Seeing her do her best, Isuzu tries to make the situation a bit more understandable. The heat emanating from his blade grew hotter, and she grimaced and backed away from the radiation, which basically scalded her skin. Just like that, the arrogant warrior fell to the ground. With equal skill, it's natural that he'd win with superior physique and attributes. Refusing to accept defeat, she gets back up and retaliates. But a quick move and swipe from him causes her to ridiculously fall back to the ground. It was a pathetic display as her face was on the floor. As a saint, there was no way for her to lose. At least that was what he thought. It's true that he doesn't have the same status, but having gone through one's oppression, he's gained enough skills to defeat them. Gritting her teeth in frustration, she gets back on her feet and agrees to give him the martial god title. However, she refused and had no intention of acknowledging that he defeated a saint test. Arcadia brimmed with power and he worried about what she was going to do next. Moving forward, she was about to experience her full strength, unbound by the rules of the match. With this, the divine spear gradually turned into the holy spear. He tries to stop her, knowing an attack from it might end up hitting the audience as well. Pulling the weapon back, she tells to stop her attack, which can pierce even the stars. The empowered spear shot forward. He gritted his teeth and raised his weapon to defend and was sent flying back when the two blades made contact. Arcadia smiled, believing it would end with her victory. Losing his patience, the young man calls her a stupid saint and calls on the power of Hanoka. The entire audience is shocked as the Phoenix God's power bursts forth, devouring her in a raging and intense blaze. She burns for a few moments and he eventually goes back to his human form. On the ground, his opponent blinked in confusion, still grasping what just happened. Seeing him walk to her, she gets on her knees and wonders why he kept her alive. Like the gentleman he is, Izu helps her out, saying he wouldn't do anything so dangerous. After all, his goal was just to win the tournament and nothing more. From the stands, Ria was in shock, realizing that her team just won. The crowd cheered and the arena went wild. It was a complete victory, and the blacksmith's honor has been restored. Soon enough, people started visiting her shop again, mostly hoping to see the gallant martial god. Izu greeted them with a sheepish smile. And while one woman mentions Ria's husband, the other calls out and announces that the young man was there. The store was filled with neighbors who never made the time to talk to the owner before. Even children were there saying they want to be the flame adventurer's disciple. As the crowd got bigger and bigger, Izzy realized that it was going to be a problem. As more attention would have Alma find him faster, he grew still, remembering how Lisa talked about the sword saint looking for him. The young man quickly headed to the inn, saying he had to do something urgent. Determined to avoid his childhood friend, he pushes through the crowd and runs away. Like before, he was absolutely done traveling with saints. It's a hassle, but he has to travel in the middle of the night again. As he was about to enter his room, a familiar voice called, saying she's been waiting for him. It was Arcadia, another troublesome person who seemed intent on sticking to him, glaring. He asks what she wants, but she tells him not to be so defensive as she just came with a request. He first wonders if her injuries have been healed, but she laughs at him and shares that her employer had a substitute arranged for her. Hearing her talk about this only fuels his hatred for her kind. Moving on, she suggests talking in his room as it would be bad to attract a crowd. After a moment of silently thinking about it, a group of people really did begin to form, prompting him to obey. Since she isn't a fan of beating around the bush, she gets right to the point. The woman blatantly says that she wants his seed, and he blankly nods along. His understanding belatedly comes and his face grows pale in shock. It was an uncanny similar situation to when Kaya asked for the same thing. Before leaving, Izu decides to say goodbye to the two friends he made first. The sun had barely risen when Ria and Theo woke up to answer his knocks. He apologizes for waking them up so early and asks if it really was okay for him to take the demon sword. There was no question about it since he's the only person who can wield it. The two ladies give him a reassuring smile and he barely holds his tears back, promising to treasure it for the rest of his life. Concluding the tearful portion, they finally part ways and he's told to come back again one day. His footsteps trod forward, but for some reason there was another pair of feet walking nearby. He turns to Arcadia and questions why she was so boldly following him. The question elicits a blank and confused stare. She says it's only natural for his wife to accompany him. So, he reminds her that he rejected her proposal. Not willing to back down, the young lady says joining him would prove that she's a suitable partner. With a proud pose, she says she even hid herself from his side until they left the city. After all, it will cause a huge fuss if people found out that they were traveling together. A chill runs down his spine, knowing it's the exact route to being found by Elma. With no choice, Isuzu allows her to stay by his side, but asks if she knows what she's talking about. He's the first to ever defeat her, so she thinks it's only natural to become his bride. After he took her body before marriage, he has to take responsibility as well, just like her father and mother. Her family lineage bothers him, but she just continues and claims that he already saw her bare since he mimicked everything about her. In a panic, he clarifies only talking about her saint test techniques and nothing more about her. The lady argues that mimicry analyzes everything, including her physique, which he's seen in detail. With this, she repeats that he has to take responsibility. After everything he did, her thought process and logic bewilders him, forcing him to sweat profusely. Gently taking a flower from the ground, Arcadia says she's surprisingly domestic. Cooking isn't her strong point, but she can grill meat and is accustomed to doing laundry. Realizing that there was no getting through to her, Izu suggests starting off as friends for now. She says that isn't very manly of him, but he argues that this is understanding as they're traveling together. The young adventurer had been worn down by her advances, and she clings to him, labeling it as a provisional wife type of relationship. As he rejects this, she pouts and says she won't compromise any further. He does his very best not to fall for her cute tricks, but fails terribly and tells her to just stop introducing herself as his wife to people. With that decided, she pulls on his arm, brightly saying that it was time to move on. He's confused, not knowing where he's headed, but she says she thought he was headed to Algren, the fortress city beyond the mountain. From what she hears, it's riddled with monsters, which have caused a few hunters to be eliminated. So no matter how many quests the guild posts, everyone was too scared to take them on since she seems to be well informed. He wonders why she hasn't taken the challenge, but she's only interested in fighting humans. As for monsters, they were nothing but a source of food and sustenance. Suddenly, bright red wings sprouted out as he summoned the power of Hanoka and flew across the sky as a phoenix. They decide to stop at a nearby town for now. As soon as he returned to his human form, she delightedly jumped around, wondering how they were going to spend their first night as newlyweds. Just then, a poison dart flew. Reacting immediately, Izu threw himself at Arcadia to dodge the attack. Pinned down by his body, she misunderstands and shilly turns away, saying it's too immoral to be intimate in the streets. He tries to explain what happened and she finally sees the dart on his back. Even with poison flowing in his body, he doesn't die and moves perfectly. However, it wasn't the time to be impressed as there was an attacker nearby. A hooded figure watched from the shadows, confirming that he really was immortal and is the one she seeks. The next day, dissatisfied complaints rained down as Izu locked himself in a separate room through the night. Arcadia pouts and whines, asking if he knows what it means to be wed, but that's exactly his problem. She banged on the door all night, wanting to force herself in. Despite this, it was time to head out. So he turns into a bird again and they travel to Algren. They unceremoniously descend and are greeted by an imposingly tall wall, open only by a thick gate. Their earlier descent was actually forced as a specialized air barrier knocked the phoenix out. Just then, a voice asked who they were. Arcadia introduces herself and announces that she's come to save the city. With this, the saints and her companion are led in. Nodding along, they enter the wall fortress. Inside, they're welcomed by a stone-faced woman. Frail serves as the castle lord of Algren after her husband, the former king, died. Arcadia says she's come to exterminate the monsters following her husband's request. Just then, she notices a woman standing near the lord. Dressed like a nun, she exuded a familiar and strong energy. From just that one look, she already knows that the woman is a saintess like her. Mel confirms it, introducing herself as the staff saint, but would rather not be lumped with immoral people like her. Not minding Arcadia taking offense, she says she's infatuated with a man despite being chosen by God, another strong-willed. Saint has appeared and is brazen enough to call her pure tainted. Elma whines as she carries her huge rucksack, finding her destination too far away. After Vulo sat and dined on the cart seat, it ended up breaking with a huge hole at the back. They were forced to walk together. Neither of them is sure if they're headed in the right direction. As she hasn't opened the map in a while, infuriated, she argues that he should do it without being told, but he cuts her off, announcing that there must be a town nearby as he smells something delicious. His nose proves to be right, and the two soon arrive at a small village. Surprisingly, the area was abundant with fowl, so they decided to grab a bite after the long journey. Inside a restaurant, people were excitedly discussing Rue's weapon, which controlled flames. Elma immediately perked upon hearing this, feeling like she was getting closer. Without hesitation, she chimes in and asks if a flame adventurer won the martial god festival. Too drunk to answer properly, the men advise her to head to the blacksmith and give herself a sword. After all, she made something strong enough to defeat the spear Saint test. She takes a seat for now, but was certain that the winner must be Hino's messenger. Nearly tasting success, she jumps off her chair and ran out as fast as possible, leaving Volko with a table of food and no money to pay for the bill. Elma ends up lost, still in shock that there are other saints and people strong enough to defeat them. Since the messenger seems to be strong, her heart pounded with thrill and she jumped around the streets excited to recruit whoever that person was. Later on, she soon arrives at the smith and sees Fio outside. Confirming that she's arrived at the right place, she asks for the owner, Rafa. However, this is the name of her father, whom she says is no longer there. Elma lightly asks if he left and is surprised to hear that he's actually passed away. She can't believe it, thinking he just recently won the martial god competition. Ria finally came out, explaining that her husband owned the shop, but she made the weapon. Again, misunderstanding, the saint thinks she's the messenger and blatantly asks to confirm her suspicions. The woman just stared at her blankly, not understanding what she was saying. According to everyone, she defeated a saint test with a weapon that controls flames. This makes the blacksmith laugh, finally understanding where it went wrong. With this, they explain how he entered the competition and beat Arcadia one-sidedly. The girl was in absolute disbelief, struggling to comprehend how her weak substitute could do that. Just then, Vulo appeared, wheezing as he had been looking for her everywhere. He came running after he heard her screaming out loud. As he entered the shop, a woman came right behind, questioning where he was going. The man apparently left without paying the bill, and was now hiding behind his employer, who hadn't paid him in a while. Enraged, the woman told the girl to pay up unless he wants her assistant to work for their restaurant. To his shock, Elma tells her to take him away. So the poor man is dragged right out of the shop, unable to do anything after being abandoned. Ria wonders if that's okay, especially since she's also a saint. Tess, hearing this, she gets her senses back, deluding herself that her issue must be different, as he can never defeat a saint. She then apologizes to the forger, finally introducing herself and asking to know more about the martial god. They immediately fawn over him, sharing how he can change weapons with his flames and even transform into a phoenix. This makes Elma sit in confidence, completely certain that they're talking about a different from hers who has no redeeming qualities. Just then, the two ladies return, saying they brought a photo of their handsome friend, expecting a lot. The Saint Tess takes the photo and has a look. The unbelievable reality hits her again as she sees her substitute carrying the trophy of the martial god. She takes another look, then a closer one, solidifying the undeniable truth. Seeing her reaction, Ria asks if they're acquaintances, recalling how he used to travel with a saint. They add on saying it can't be since the person he was with was quite awful and selfish. While each word struck Elma's heart, the two continued going on about how there must be terrible saints too. Yet there he was traveling with yet another problematic woman. Urgently questioned, the smith shares that he's now with the divine spear whom he defeated in the tournament. Based on rumors, the two joined up on a journey and were seen walking away arm in arm. His worries become true, and the so-called rumors spread. Elma can't believe that he's journeying with another Saint Test besides her. Hearing this, she confirms that she really was his awful companion from before. Still in the daze, she leaves the establishment, wanting to resume her search. She's told to come back if she has any more questions, and based on her reaction, the mother and daughter wonder if the girl had feelings for the young man. The word impossible repeatedly rang in her head to be traveling all Lovodovi with another woman despite being the pathetic man he is. Coincidentally, Elma's path led her to Davalo, who cried out saying she came by to pick him up. However, she's too enraged and refuses to ever forgive Isu, finally snapping out of it. She notices her aide and asks why he's there. Reunited, they pay the bill and head to their inn. For some reason, they end up in the same room once more. The man notices her disgruntled expression and wonders if something was wrong. Suddenly, she pulls on his hand and lays him on the bed, eliciting shy shrieks as he asks her to stop. The girl pokes his large stomach and comments on his health. Doing this to relieve stress, she thinks about Shishu again and how she steal him back.